A woman of God understands that begging is not her language, faith is her vocabulary. She doesn't plead for what God has already promised, because she knows His word never returns void. When others chase validation, she chases His voice. When the world tells her she needs to fight to be seen, she smiles knowing that God has already called her by name. She doesn't have to chase after love, attention, or opportunity, because she understands that what is meant for her will never be stolen by anyone else. Her blessings are assigned with her name written in heaven's ink, and no man can erase what God has already approved. She knows that waiting is not wasting time, it's divine preparation. Every closed door, every rejection, every not yet from God is only a sign that something far greater is being built behind the scenes. She doesn't panic when life feels silent, because she knows God does His best work in silence. When others complain about what's not happening, she's busy trusting that God is aligning what she cannot yet see. Her spirit carries peace even in storms, because she has learned that panic doesn't move God, faith does. And so she stands tall in the face of uncertainty, reminding herself, if it's mine, it will find me. She refuses to compromise her standards for temporary comfort, because she knows divine timing cannot be rushed. She understands that begging lowers her vibration, but faith lifts her into divine alignment. When something she wanted doesn't happen, she doesn't chase it. She thanks God for the protection she didn't see. A woman of God knows that begging is born out of fear, but trusting is born out of faith. She is not afraid to lose people, jobs, or positions, because she knows God never subtracts without planning to multiply. She doesn't run after people to prove her worth. She walks away knowing her value was determined on the cross, not by opinion. She knows her Father in heaven owns all things, so she never feels lack. Even when she has little, she walks like she has everything, because she knows the one who provides is limitless. When others try to manipulate outcomes, she chooses surrender. When others break under pressure, she bends her knees in prayer. Every delay, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer is another layer of trust being built in her heart. She understands that her strength doesn't come from forcing things, but from resting in the promise that God's plan is perfect. She has learned that faith is not about seeing results, it's about believing before anything happens. So she keeps walking, even when the path is unclear. She keeps believing, even when the evidence says otherwise, because her faith is not based on feelings. It's built on the character of a faithful God. And in that unwavering trust, she becomes unstoppable. Her peace becomes her armor, her patience her power, her faith her foundation. She knows that begging is a sign of doubt, but faith is a declaration of victory. So she stops pleading for blessings and starts praising for promises. She doesn't say, "Lord, please." She says, "Lord, I trust you." And that simple shift moves mountains, opens doors, and invites miracles into her life. Because a woman who refuses to beg and chooses to trust becomes dangerous in the spiritual realm, not because of her might, but because of her belief that her Father never fails. She is proof that when you stop begging and start believing, heaven starts moving on your behalf. A woman of God understands that trust is not passive, it is power wrapped in patience. When life doesn't go as planned, she doesn't crumble, she leans in closer to God. She knows that trusting God means surrendering her understanding, not her destiny. She doesn't need to know every detail, because she knows the author of her story holds the pen. While others panic about what's next, she rests in divine assurance that her steps are ordered by a God who never fails. Her faith is not shaken by temporary circumstances, because she knows her foundation is eternal. She doesn't measure God's goodness by her current situation. She measures it by His promises that never change. When doors close, she doesn't beg for them to reopen, she thanks God for redirection. When people walk away, she doesn't chase them, she thanks God for protection. She knows that rejection is often God's way of removing distractions. Every no becomes a setup for a better yes. Her heart doesn't question why things fall apart. It celebrates that everything falling apart is also falling into place according to God's plan. She doesn't operate out of fear or desperation, because her confidence doesn't come from what she sees, but from who she knows. A woman of God who trusts doesn't let fear rule her emotions. She knows that worry wastes energy and weakens faith. So instead of overthinking, she prays. Instead of complaining, she praises. When life hits hard, she stands taller because her hope is anchored in something deeper than circumstances. She's learned that storms aren't meant to destroy her, they're meant to reveal the strength of her faith. She trusts that even when she can't trace God's hand, she can still trust His heart. Her trust is not conditional, it's consistent. She doesn't trust God only when life feels easy. She trusts Him especially when it doesn't. Her peace comes not from having control, but from surrendering control. That's her secret power. She doesn't fight God's process, she flows with it. She knows that rushing ahead of God only leads to exhaustion, but walking with Him leads to elevation. Every trial, every delay, every silence has purpose. She doesn't need instant answers because she has eternal assurance. She knows that God's timing is never late. It's always layered with wisdom and love. Her faith allows her to sit still when the world tells her to panic. She's not chasing miracles, she's becoming one through her trust. In moments when others question her calmness, she smiles knowing that peace is the fruit of trusting a faithful God. She doesn't beg for blessings because she knows her Father has already stored them up for the right moment. Her trust shifts the atmosphere around her. It silences anxiety and invites grace. She carries herself with quiet strength, not because life is perfect, but because her faith is anchored in perfection Himself. When she walks into a room, peace follows because she embodies trust in motion. She is living proof that trusting God is not weakness, it's the highest form of strength. And when she chooses trust over fear, patience over panic, faith over begging, heaven responds. God opens doors no one can shut, because a woman who trusts is a woman God can trust with blessings beyond imagination. A woman of God understands that her strength is not in her hands, but in her surrender. She knows that the moment she lets go of control is the moment God takes over completely. She doesn't try to force blessings to happen. She allows them to unfold in divine timing. When things fall apart, she doesn't panic, she prays. When life feels uncertain, she doesn't rely on her own wisdom. She relies on the one who knows the end from the beginning. Her surrender is not weakness, it's a declaration of strength. It's her way of saying, God, I trust you more than I trust myself. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. That's the kind of trust that invites miracles. She knows that control is an illusion that leads to exhaustion. She's learned that every time she tries to handle things her way, she ends up drained, disappointed, and distant from peace. But the moment she lets go, God steps in with clarity, favor, and supernatural order. She's learned through her journey that surrender doesn't mean giving up, it means giving it over to the one who can do far more than she could ever imagine. When she releases her plans, God replaces them with His perfect design. When she lets go of her timing, He introduces blessings that fit her season perfectly. A woman of God understands that trust requires stillness. It's not always about doing more, sometimes it's about resting more. She doesn't feel guilty for waiting anymore because she knows waiting on God is not wasted time, it's preparation time. While others see delay, she sees divine alignment. While others get frustrated, she gets refined. God uses her waiting season to strengthen her patience, sharpen her discernment, and deepen her faith. She's not afraid of silence anymore, because she knows that silence is where God speaks the loudest. She doesn't have to chase what's already hers. She doesn't beg for what God has already written in her destiny. She doesn't fear missing out, because she knows nothing can block what God has already approved. Her trust makes her unshakable. She's learned to find peace even in the unknown. She no longer asks, "Why me?" She says, "Use me." She doesn't complain about what didn't work. She thanks God for what didn't, because it protected her from something she couldn't see. A woman of God lives differently because she knows she's held by a faithful Father. Even when she's walking through fire, she trusts that she won't be burned. Even when she's in deep waters, she knows she won't drown. Her heart is anchored in faith, her soul clothed in confidence, and her mind covered in peace. She's not desperate for answers, she's dependent on grace. Every time she lets go, God lifts her higher. Every time she releases what she can't control, heaven releases what she needs. She has learned to breathe through battles, to smile through storms, and to praise through pain, because she knows God never leaves her empty. He's either preparing her for more or protecting her from less. Her surrender has become her superpower, her trust has become her testimony, and her peace has become her proof that when you stop fighting for control and start trusting in God's plan, you unlock blessings that no human effort could ever achieve. That is the beauty of a woman of God. She doesn't beg life to be kind. She trusts that her Father already wrote her victory into the story. A woman of God understands that faith isn't built in comfort, it's built in chaos. She knows that when life starts to shake, it's not falling apart, it's falling into place according to God's design. The very storms that others see as punishment, she recognizes as preparation. She has learned that God uses pressure to reveal purpose. Every trial becomes a classroom, every pain becomes a teacher, and every delay becomes divine training for destiny. She no longer runs from challenges because she knows they are shaping her for something greater. When she faces rejection, betrayal, or loss, she doesn't see it as the end, she sees it as God clearing the path for something more beautiful to enter her life. Her spirit whispers, "Be still, God is working," even when her mind can't yet see how. When others complain about the fire, she thanks God for refining her in it. Because gold doesn't shine until it's purified, and faith doesn't grow until it's tested. She knows her pain isn't pointless, it's purposeful. God doesn't waste her tears. He uses them to water the seeds of her destiny. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer is building her into the woman He created her to be. She understands that if God allows her to go through something, it's because He plans to bring her out stronger, wiser, and more anointed than before. She doesn't crumble under pressure, she grows. When she loses something, she doesn't ask, "Why me?" She asks, "What are you teaching me, Lord?" That shift in mindset gives her power. She refuses to see herself as a victim because she knows she's victorious through Christ. Even in her darkest valley, she knows the shepherd walks beside her. When people talk about her, she prays for them. When others try to tear her down, she lets God lift her up. Her peace is her weapon, her patience is her strength, her faith is her fortress. A woman of God doesn't seek revenge, she seeks revelation. She knows that battles aren't meant to break her, they're meant to birth something greater within her. Every season of struggle has made her more compassionate, more discerning, more powerful. She has learned that divine strength is not the absence of pain, but the ability to trust God through it. When others see chaos, she sees confirmation that God is still moving. Because only something valuable is attacked this much. She knows that the enemy wouldn't fight her so hard if she weren't carrying something heaven sent. When storms come, she doesn't question God's presence. She anchors herself deeper in His promises. She speaks faith when fear tries to whisper. She stands tall when circumstances try to bend her spirit. Because she knows her foundation is not built on feelings, it's built on faith. She walks with unshakable confidence, not because she has everything figured out, but because she knows the one who does. She's learned that the same God who allowed the storm has already commanded the calm. So she doesn't panic, she praises. She doesn't retreat, she rises. Her faith turns fear into fuel. Her prayer turns pressure into peace. And through it all, she becomes a living testimony that when you trust God in your trials, He will transform your pain into power. That's why she no longer begs for easy seasons. She thanks God for strengthening ones. Because deep down, she knows faith that is never tested can never truly be trusted. A woman of God knows that divine timing is not a suggestion, it's a law of heaven. She understands that rushing what God is still preparing can destroy what He is trying to build in her life. So she chooses patience over panic, peace over pressure, and trust over timelines. She knows that when something is delayed, it's not denied, it's simply being designed for perfection. God doesn't operate on her clock. He moves according to purpose. She has learned that premature blessings can become heavy burdens, and what's meant to bless her will come only when her spirit is strong enough to handle it. She doesn't try to force doors open that God has closed, because she knows that forced doors lead to unnecessary pain. She's walked that road before chasing things that looked good but weren't God. Now she's wiser. She's learned that waiting on God is not weakness, it's warfare, because patience is the proof of trust, and trust is the language of faith. While others get restless in the waiting, she stays rooted in worship. She knows that even when it looks like nothing is happening, everything is aligning. Heaven's clock never ticks late. Every prayer, every tear, every act of faith is being gathered and released at the appointed time. A woman of God has learned to discern the difference between delay and denial. She doesn't question God's silence, she finds peace in it. Silence doesn't mean absence, it means construction. God is building something behind the scenes, something that requires time, precision, and protection. She doesn't envy others who seem to move faster, because she knows everyone's journey unfolds differently. Comparison is a thief of contentment, and she refuses to let impatience steal her joy. She believes that what's hers will never miss her, and what misses her was never meant for her. Every time she feels anxious about timing, she reminds herself that the same God who made the sun rise this morning is still in control of her story. She's seen enough of His faithfulness to trust His pace. She knows that some blessings come in stages because God isn't just preparing the promise, He's preparing her. Before He places her in the spotlight, He refines her in the shadows. Before He promotes her, He protects her from premature exposure. Her waiting is not wasted. It's producing endurance, character, and faith that cannot be shaken. She no longer rushes love, career, or destiny. She lets God orchestrate every chapter, because she knows that divine timing brings divine peace, and anything that feels forced is not from God. Her patience has become her power. Her calmness confuses the enemy, because while others strive, she simply trusts. She walks with grace in delay and confidence in detours, because she knows God never misses an appointment. When the blessing finally comes, it will fit so perfectly that she'll realize why it couldn't have come any sooner. The right people, the right opportunities, the right breakthroughs, all aligned by divine design. She'll look back and thank God for every not yet that protected her from pain, and every closed door that redirected her toward destiny, because she knows now that true faith doesn't rush, it rests. True faith doesn't demand, it declares, in His time it will happen. And in that surrender, she finds her greatest strength, the peace that comes from knowing she doesn't have to chase what's already written in her favor. A woman of God knows that her worth is not defined by what she has, who she knows, or what she achieves. It's rooted in who she belongs to. She doesn't need validation from people because she's already been chosen by God. She no longer measures her value through attention, compliments, or approval. The world might overlook her, but heaven knows her name. She walks with quiet confidence, not because she thinks she's better than others, but because she knows she's deeply loved and intentionally created. She doesn't beg for love, she embodies it. She doesn't chase recognition, she carries revelation, the revelation that she is a daughter of the King. She knows that when you understand your worth in God, you stop settling for less than what He promised. She refuses to beg for spaces that were never meant for her or for people who can't see her value. If someone walks away, she lets them. If opportunities pass by, she doesn't panic because she knows what's meant for her cannot be taken, delayed, or diminished. Her confidence doesn't come from circumstances. It comes from identity. She understands that she is not just another woman, she is a vessel of purpose, chosen for a divine assignment. The world might try to label her, criticize her, or misunderstand her, but she's unbothered. She doesn't waste energy explaining herself to those who can't see her anointing. Instead, she stays focused, knowing that her light will speak louder than her words. Every season of pain, every tear, every closed door has shaped her into a woman of power, wisdom, and grace. She's no longer defined by what she lost, but by what she learned. She knows that when God removes something, He's making room for something better. She understands that confidence in God is her armor. When life tries to break her, she stands firm in her faith. She knows that her strength doesn't come from being fearless, but from knowing who fights for her. She walks through storms like a queen walking through her palace, calm, steady, unshaken. Not because the storm isn't real, but because her peace is. She's learned to silence her insecurities by reminding herself, God doesn't make mistakes, and He made me. Every scar tells a story of survival, every delay a chapter of destiny, every break through a reminder of grace. When the enemy whispers that she's not enough, she smiles and says, maybe not for you, but more than enough for my purpose. She doesn't compete, she completes herself, her calling, her mission. Her glow comes not from makeup or money, but from the fire of faith that burns within her. She radiates peace because she knows God is with her. She doesn't need to beg for blessings. Blessings chase her because favor follows faith. A woman of God knows she is royalty not because of crowns, but because of covenant. She doesn't shrink to fit into small spaces or water down her light to make others comfortable. She shines unapologetically because she understands that her glow is her ministry. Every time she trusts God in the unknown, she preaches without words. Every time she chooses peace over panic, she testifies of His power. Every time she refuses to beg and chooses to believe, she shows the world what faith looks like in motion. She's not waiting for someone to crown her. God already did. She walks with her head high, not in arrogance but in assurance. She knows who she is and whose she is. That's why she doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't beg, she believes. She doesn't fear, she flourishes. Because when a woman knows her worth in God, she becomes unstoppable. She is living proof that true power is not in demanding attention, it's in trusting God's direction. And that kind of woman doesn't just survive, she reigns.